we're talking about the high-end restoration market. In our last class, we talked about the high-end collectible market from an exotic perspective. You know, Ferrari and Bugatti and one-off racers and Alfa Romeo and vintage Porsche. But there's another market. There's another high-end market that is unique and special. You may say, is that the muscle car market? Close. It's similar to the muscle car market, but it's even more unique, it's even more high-end, and let's face it, it's even a little bit more speculative. But if you can tap into this high-end collectible market, and what are we talking about today? We're talking about one-off restomods. So what do I mean by this new market? What do I mean by this high-end collectible version that's not named Ferrari, Bugatti, and all of those global icons? We're talking about restomods. And a restomod is when you take, more times than not, an Americanized vehicle, and you take that vehicle and you simply reimagine it. You take it into a level, into a direction where it's never been before. You go into the room and you look at how the car was originally engineered and you say, how can we make this greater? How can we incorporate emerging technology? How can we place that new form of engineering into this design? How can we play with the color to make it dance on our eyes a little bit better? What can we do in the form of the interior? What about all the lumbar support and all of the technology that we have today? What about a Bluetooth? What about GPS? What about if I'm driving a car and I want that safety assistance that gives me a yellow light and it lets me know when I'm turning into a lane with someone else? How can you take all of this emerging technology and then take the car and let it compete on a grand stage with a modern Lamborghini or modern Ferrari, or maybe the new Corvette, or some luxury Mercedes or BMW or Rolls Royce? How can you compete? And that's what that market is all about. The market of emerging technology, the market of advanced engineering, the market of supreme craftsmanship. I want you to join me today as I talk with one of my good friends, one of the baddest builders on this side of heaven. We're going to talk with Steve Cook of Steve Cook Creations, and we're going to talk about one-off builders. And so I want you to be a fly on the wall as Steve and I just kind of talk cars. We talk about pushing the envelope. We talk about emerging technology. Listen, you want to hear this class. They were talking about the high-end version of classic car collectibles. Footnote, Pro Touring Restomod. Sometimes restomodding gets a bad name from purists. They say, oh, you're tearing that car up. The car didn't have a fuel injection, and that's not period correct. How do you, not that you build for them, but how do you reason restoration and restomodding, pushing the envelope, but yet being true to what it was?
Well, that's the struggle I have with my dad. He's a purist, you know, and the best that car ever looks is probably the day it shows up here. From that point on, he's wondering what I'm doing. You know, the Buick we cut the whole top off of it. He said, that's the prettiest part of the car you just took off. But I don't know. You know, he was a drag racer, get from point A to B. I really appreciate all that. I want performance on a car and stuff, but I guess I feel like I've somehow or another have learned to trust my instincts and just do what I do.
That's that artist in you.
I hope so.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. You see something, it's in your head, it's in your spirit. It's like, I can't leave that there because I see something else.
Yeah, I know when I go in, and sometimes things get a little bit too far out of, even I think, like you're saying, well, you should change this. And if I come in and there's just something I just feel is not right, I just think, let's go back where we started. Somewhere along the way, I veered off of what I want this to look like, and
you got to kind of come back to your center.
Yeah.
Now you talk about your dad, and I've been here a little while, and I hear a lot of family. I see your son; he's involved in the business. Your wife comes here every day before she goes, to to work,
Yeah.
and family is big. Family is involved. Talk to me about the importance of family and a family heritage. Even the young men, Brandon and Alan, they call you old Papa. Talk about that a little bit, Papa.
Well, I understand that because I'm older than their dads, but I call my dad all the time, especially on something older engine or something. And I had a customer here today looking at the Cadillac engine, and brings back a lot of memories for those guys, and it's a little before me, but I can, I've been around those. But I think that this is a big industry, but there's a lot of mom and pop families, so things travel fast. And, I know a lot of the people's moms and dads, they're my age. Some of the younger guys like Brandon and Alan, they're building cars, and I know those guys. So a lot of times when I'm introduced to a builder, when I meet his dad, he's more my age than the builder is, so it's really neat, to see all that. And I know that, like I said, in a blink, Alan will be here doing what I'm doing, so, and that's what I'm hoping for,
Man, I love that about you. I love the fact that you're the man. You agree? No. Okay.
No.
But you're the man. But you're so not the man. You carry yourself as if you're a vessel through which the good Lord pours rain through.
I would like to think so.
And that's how you move.
Yeah.
That's as, when I see Alan, I see an extension of you. When I see Mike, I see an extension of you. When I see Brandon doing his thing, I see an extension of you, and that you're celebrating them. Talk about the importance of passing this legacy off. Talk about the importance of the young guns. Here you are, a big-time builder. You've been in from Riddler all around to Concourse to SEMA Battle of the Builders, and then they have that SEMA Young Guns, and you have it right here at your shop. You have some young guns that they ain't no joke.
No, yeah.
Talk about the young guns in this industry.
Well, I don't think anything we're doing makes any sense if we can't pass that on. That's what you and I have been allowed to live this long. That's part of the wisdom and the knowledge that we've attained, that we're supposed to pass it on. And that's what I tell them first. If I say something, it's not because I got it all figured out. It's just that I've tried that and I know pretty much what's going to happen. If I mix this or do that or put this stuff together, and so once they understand that that's all you're trying to do is just help them, to kind of get through something, but you let them figure it out too. It's just important. I appreciate that. Some of the guys with the older cars, they're getting up there in age, but it's a blessing to be able to talk to them, and we'll go to lunch with them just so they can just pour into us whether they know it or not. We're just like you. We bring up key questions because we know they'll start talking about it, and we want to know about what was it like when you had that car, or what was it like, and they'll just keep talking. We'll have to just finally say, hey, we got to go back to work, because people enjoy talking about that stuff. But sometimes some of the customers we've had in the past, they just show up to hang out with us and just talk about the good times in the cars they've had, or some of them we've never even seen.
Let me ask you this. Cars are touchy. We go to car shows and pull the chair out of the back. You pull yours out of the back. Your car's right there. My car's right here. We're really close to each other. And when they get the grade 8, they get that final number. And then there's some camaraderie shared there. And clients come in and want to be close to the car. How has COVID affected you and affected the industry? And where do you think car shows and the industry is headed, and specifically SEMA?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I wish I did. I don't have the answers. I'm pretty much like everybody else, wait and see what happens. I think it kind of makes you think about things, but I also know that life's got to go on. We got to, as far as SEMA and all that stuff, it's really important for everybody. I think that as much as I would do this, no matter if anybody ever got to see it, and I preach to those guys that do what you do, whether anybody's here or not, because the one thing about our business as an industry, there's a lot of shortcuts and different things, but if you're honest with yourself and not go down that road, it'll show up, So, but it's still important when it's all said and done. You still, the best friends I got in this anywhere are the people I've competed with. You learn that through life, you know. You go to battle with them, but they help push you to a higher level, and you do the same for them. And then, you know, you got a lot of respect for them. I tell anybody, if we go up there and they got a better car, my hats are off, because I know how much we worked on ours.
Yeah, but that don't happen too often, do it?
Well, you know, it does. You know, you'd be surprised. You know, you really would. You know,
you're gonna be in the number though.
Well, we would like to think so.
You're gonna be in that number.
Yeah.
You're gonna bring a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna bring a good one for
Well,
sure.
I mean, that's where we feel like that we're comfortable with what we do, and we know if we do what we do and do it well, we're gonna have a pretty fair shake. We know we're gonna have something to bring.
Can you talk about the sport of the show car business, the sport of playing cars, of bringing your car to the show? You bring your car to the show, we're going to play some cars through the judges. Talk about the sport of that, and the fulfillment of that, and the competition of that, and the satisfaction. Talk about that, the car show side of it, and not just private ownership, keep it in my garage, but when you're really building something, you're going to put it in an enclosed trailer, you're going to load it with care, unload it with care, and it's built to be a show car. Talk about that side of it.
Well, we got a side of that and that usually our cars the first year or so were that, but most of these cars these day and age are drivers. They all turn into drivers because I think they sense the value of something they can really use. And that's really has what changed. If you're talking about where cars are going now, a lot of the parts are improving the suspension, the drive, the comfort of the car. That's where I kind of draw the line on the original car. It's got so many limitations, you know, the gearing, the suspension. It's just not as creature comfort as the cars are nowadays. And so that's why you start changing things. You want to drive from here to Houston. You know, you probably don't want to drive a 61 bone stock Impala, but you can take some of the cars, you know, that we've got going now.
I can drive this 69 right here.
There you go.
Yeah, it'd be a good trip.
Yeah, it'd be a fun trip.
Get there in a record-breaking time.
Yeah. And a lot of people see you and remember that. You know, I have customers and people say, I seen that car in Louisville, Kentucky, not at the car show, but at the gas station, because road tours are real popular now.
Wow.
And it gives them a chance to, you know, it's one thing to meet people, you know, because that's another thing. Car shows there's a lot more to it than just that. You know, we're involved in ministries that do drives, I guess I would call it, for drug addiction and different things, and people put that on, and we've always enjoyed that because we get to go drive our car. You know, it's 100 miles what they do. Normally it's you drive sometimes 20 or 30 miles to get there, then they drive 120 miles. So, but it's a whole day of driving.
Let me ask you this now, if you don't mind me saying, sharing rather. You're definitely a man of faith.
Sure.
You're a man that believes in something beyond yourself.
Yes.
And that seems to be a big part of your makeup and how you carry yourself and how you build cars. And sometimes individuals and builders get the wrong impression that if you're a custom car builder, you got to be tough and rude, and you know, you don't have to have faith. You can, you know, we get pigeonholed in the wrong direction. But your faith is clearly big. You know, and I met you at the shop early this morning. One of the first things you did was have your devotional. Talk about that, if you don't mind, the importance of just knowing yourself, knowing what's important to you before you even start your day.
Well, I'm not the center of my universe. You know, I learned that a long time ago, and I feel like through the grace of God that, you know, I'm privileged to get to do this. I didn't grow up any different than any teenager. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I knew I liked working with my hands and did different things. And I don't think I had a big business plan. You know, I just wasn't all figured out from the get-go. I knew I had a passion for cars, and I knew.
Yeah, I heard you say you learned a lot from your clients.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, everybody. I'm constantly looking at things and seeing if that works for me. You know, and but you know, I had the car that I drive, and I didn't have a lot of money, but I knew I could. There's a lot of things you can do to a car, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. It's just labor. So that's really how I got into this. It was cheap entertainment for the most part.
I like that. Cheap, clean entertainment.
Yeah. Most people spend more on cable nowadays than I was spending on redoing a car. You know, I just saved and spent it as I went, and I knew that, you know, I didn't believe in borrowing money for stuff like that, and I knew when I got through with something, I had something of value. So, you know, I always had an ace in the hole. If I really got in a tight spot, I figured out I could sell that car, but never got to that day, I guess. So,
if there's a young person at home, and there is, listening to this conversation today with one of the living legends, what would be 3 things that you would share? You know, if you go back in time, you're just starting your business, what would you tell them? What 3 wisdom points, nuggets? I'm sure you tell Brandon and Alan these things all the time, but what were 3 things that if someone's listening now and maybe they know they have the passion, they have the creativity, they have the skill set, and they want to make a go of it, what are 3 maybe wisdom points you share?
I think, and you know, I never really think about it until you ask me a question like that, but I think mentors, if you can find somebody, I know in my faith I do that, and even in cars, you know, if you find somebody you really admire or you know, want to know more about what they're doing, just tell them that. You know, I've told many people, and I feel like that's really my role with those guys. And patience, you know, I think that this day and age is so hard to slow down. Try to get it right the first time, or try to figure out if you know, quit making the same mistake every time. You know, slow down and see. You know, if something doesn't work out right, don't give up. You know, I mean, all that patience and all of that stuff. We could go on forever talking about any of those things. And I think thirdly, just you know, and I have nothing to do with a lot of it, but the right people being around you. That goes back to the mentorship and stuff. But I think if you're true to people and treat people like you want to be treated and everything, you'll figure out that, you know, there'll be a lot of good people around you. You know, I've had a lot of help, a lot of different ways. And
what's some of the mentors as throughout your career, some of the guys that you've really looked up to that have maybe impacted your business and you like the way that they were doing things and they shared some wisdom with you? Who were some of those mentors to you?
Bruce Ricks, you know, he's one of those kind of guys that says what he's thinking, I guess. And sometimes we need to hear that. You know, I mean, sometimes you think, well, I don't know, you know, but I've told him that. You know, I really appreciate that. That's, you know, I think that's really what we're all really wanting, people to be honest with us. And to me, that's really a start to be a mentor. You know, you got to really just, hey, I'll put it out there. You know, you can figure out how you want to go about it. And he's always done that for me. I thought that was really good. Ted Davis, he just has, well, Gil Losey, which was a great customer of mine, and he's the same way, but he would go to Ted's and say, you know, with his antique cars, he said, I can't even understand the passion he has for cars. So I think that's with Ted, that was one of the places I wanted to show you. But that's why I take people over, because that's why I still like to work on antique cars, because, you know, those are part of somebody's family. They've been heirlooms, and, you know, or in this car he's working on now was in the World's Fair in 1931, and, you know, he does so much research, it just wears me out, you know, on the history of him. But you just got to love that about him. You know, he's got his own foundry, he casts his own things, his machine shop.
Wow.
You know, he can build every part. You know, now it's all billet in our world, or, you know, machined. And he can do a lot of that, but he still does a lot of it the old way, the way they did it, because he wants it to be authentic to however they're doing it, you know. And so, you know, that's the one thing when you look at a car like this, or some of the cars we're doing, or a lot of people are doing, man, when you start thinking about the hours and the difficulty, then that's another thing, the level of difficulty that people had to go through. It's just, I don't know, it's amazing.
You know, we find a lot of individuals are fascinated with our industry, and we love that. They're fascinated with the industry, and everybody wants to restore a car, but it's still a long journey.
Yes. And
the long journey translates into, it can still be expensive. How do you advise a young builder who is maybe not connected with the client that's ready to run the marathon, but he has a client that wants to run a mile? Because what I find sometimes is young builders want to run a marathon, but the client's like, no, let's just run a mile. What wisdom might you have for that builder of just doing the best you can on the mile journey and not trying to take a mile journey and turn it into a marathon?
Yeah, I mean, you basically said it. I think you just got to really read that customer, and then maybe try to get a plan where maybe you have to phase it, you know, where they take a break, you take a break, you work on something else, and the best way to set all that up is do a good job on, and I try to get them to start at the base, and that way, you don't have to undo anything. So, just basically kind of read the car and say, here's what I really want to start on, so I can be set up to do the next step. And even if you end up not doing it, somebody else will really appreciate it.
Goes back to being patient.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't run too fast. Don't outrun the client.
Yeah. Don't try to get to the, it's just like paint. I got to get this done so I can paint it this weekend so I can see what it looks like, Well, I think that experience shows you do what you need to do, you'll know what it's going to look like. You don't have to, You don't
have to see it in color.
Yeah. You know it's going to work.
Yeah.
So we just kind of keep putting pieces together. We never see these cars together until the owner does. We mocked them up and everything, but I told you the other day that they look a lot different whenever they're all painted. It kind of simplifies them when everything starts blending together. But since we've done enough of them, we see that.
What about build philosophy? I believe that safety is very, very important. And so if I'm doing a car, safety has to be there, but then it has to function. And I heard you talk about that the other day we were talking about kick panels and that and door panels, and that you don't want to glue the door panels in place and you can't remove them if you need to. You always got to think about the other person who's going to service the car. Maybe it's not going to be you. Talk about some of your build principles and some of the principles that maybe a young builder at home can learn from you.
Well, I just think you got to realize that at some point somebody's got to be able to take this thing apart, and you may not be there. And for whatever reason. And for the most part, once somebody starts working on this car or something, they'll figure out kind of what's going on, just because, you try to do everything in an organized manner. But, there's a lot going on some of these cars with all the wiring in the computer. But, it just goes back to, and this, we put them together and take them apart and put them together and take them apart. Each time, it's like doing body work. Each time you go around the car, you're trying to eliminate about 25% of the issues. And you start, there's so many of them that you don't even know where to start. But as you keep going along and doing that stuff, you realize that car's getting closer to what you want it to be. So it's not something you're going to, as you lay everything out, you keep looking at it with an open mind that you may not be able to get into that, when the air ducts are in there. And so it's layers, So
now you're definitely a hands-on builder.
Sure.
There's not much on the car you have not physically touched.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part? What's your favorite part? What's your favorite thing to touch? I'd be putting you in a funny spot there, but I know you enjoy it all. But what's your home run pitch? You can get on base with all of them, but
yeah, I think I think all of them really are. I love it today that we've started the car for the first time. It's it's like hearing a baby cry or naming a kid. It's like it's alive. And
do you cry?
No, I don't know about that part, but I do get. I think I'm probably as emotional or more so than anybody else. But it just makes you feel good. You finally get to hear that thing.
Big accomplishment.
Yeah, because to me the
sound
of it and everything is important as anything, and the color, the stance. It's nice to see one painted, and but just everything. I get, we're fixing to go back out to Gabe's and pick up a '59 Impala, and it's exciting just to see. It'll all be in there, even though it's in primer, but it's going to be fun to go and see what that, kind of seeing your vision come to life, and that's the fun thing with Alan. He's always drawn cars, and now we got drawings of cars that are finished. And that's a full circle, and that's really cool,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I heard absolutely beautiful is the end result. It's absolutely beautiful. Just seeing it in the magazine is dynamic. Seeing it up close is even cooler. This is a high end of the market. This is a different level. And more times than not, it's going to be an American car, as you see that we've talked about, at least the way I build them and the way Steve builds them. When it comes to resto mods and pro touring and push them to the next envelope, there's nothing like taking that beautiful eye candy of an American design vehicle, infusing modern technology, pushing the envelope to another level, and giving the client truly a one-of-a-kind custom car that has never existed before in the past and very likely would never be replicated. I hope you've enjoyed this class on high-end collectibles, pro touring resto mods.